And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to Ask a Wizard. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get some live wizard readings up in here. If you'd like to get a live wizard reading, all you need to do is share the stream and let me know in the comment section below that you would like to get a live wizard reading. Let me put on the live chat here so I can actually read your comments. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. How are you guys doing? And while we wait for those free readings to come on in, let me know in the comments below by saying that you would like a free reading and we'll get you one. Hello, how's it going? Nitro Atlantis, how you doing? E-Gamer Girl, how's it going? Hello, Holly. Hello, Fun Time with Hanks. How's your day been? It's been very good. E-Gamer Girl, how are you? Welcome. And if you want to get a wizard reading, all you need to do is share the stream and let me know that you would like a reading. Let's see here. Fun Times with Hanka. Let's get you a reading. All right, let's go. Up in here. Anything in particular, Fun Times, that you are looking for with this particular reading? Anything you're looking for insights on? Let me know. Let me know. All right, let's see which philosopher we need to get involved here. Mr. Plato, would you be so kind? Perfect. Awesome. All right. What is your favorite color? Blue. Oops, I'm glitching. Oh no. Fun Times with Hank. Is it glitching for you still? Let me know. If there's anything in particular you'd like a reading, let me know in the comments below. And I'm going to move forward, assuming it's a general reading. But if you have something in particular you'd like, let me know. Let's take a look here. Looking into the past, what we see is the Four of Wands here. So what this is saying, Fun Times, is that in the past, you were in a place where you were really stable in your principles. You were really kind of raised in an environment where you never really were challenged on what you believed. You didn't really have to, you weren't put in a position where your principles were tested. You weren't having to make sacrifices on what you believed in and what you held to be true. Yes, you may, Mr. SpongeBob SquarePants. I will get you added as well as you, Haley. We'll get you on the list here. Let me write that down so I don't forget you. SpongeBob. And how do you spell that one? And Holly. Holly. Awesome. Got you on the list. All right. Yes, Fun Times. We're doing your reading right now. We're giving you a general reading. If there's anything in particular you're looking for insights on, let me know. So the Four of Wands here, again, this is about the foundations of your principles. This is saying that you are in a position where, whoa, that's weird. Why is my hand doing that? Is that doing that for you guys on the camera as well? I don't know what the heck that is. That's weird. Okay, so the Four of Wands is about stability of emotion or stability of principles, I should say. So in the past here, you're not really being challenged on what you believe in. You just have your principles. You have to you hold them to be true, obviously, but you're not really being put in a position where they're tested. Now, walking into the present, what we see is you've now entered a situation where the things that you believe, the principles you hold to be true, are actually growing and being tested. So you're being put into situations where the things that you hold as your values, the things that you don't compromise on, you're being introduced to scenarios where people are kind of giving you a little pressure for sticking to what you believe in, having to do what you believe in, and holding true to those principles. And so, what we see is this transition from a development of your principles, being raised in a household or an environment that really teaches you how to be a good person and to do the right thing and what is true. And now we're being entering in the zone of those principles being challenged. We actually have to stick to them despite pressure from the outside. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now. Is this sounding accurate for you, Mr. Fun Times? Let me know in the comments below. And if not, that's perfectly fine. We will adjust accordingly. But if it is sounding accurate, let me know so we can move on to the next steps. Holly, yes, indeed. I got you on the list. Fun Times, yes, you're getting your reading right now, sir. Let me know in the comments below. SpongeBob Square. How did you get SpongeBob SquarePants as a name? Fun Times has confirmed that what I just said was 100% on point. Glad to hear that this is sounding accurate for you, Fun Times. So let's move on to the next steps. So what we see popping up here is a good card. Don't worry. A lot of people get freaked out by this card. They think, ah, it's a curse. Oh no, it's bad. It's the death card. It's the famine, the horror. That's not what the death card is at all. The death card actually is a very good card. What it's saying is we need to burn off the dead wood to allow the room and the ground to be fertilized for great things to grow out of it. So, what this is a call to action for you is saying that we're going to have to let some of the weaker parts of ourselves be sacrificed, and that's going to leave open the space and fertilize the ground so that better parts of ourselves can grow out. So, the best way to think of this is these challenges that you're being presented with your principles are actually going to make you more powerful and stronger because now you're really testing them. It's kind of like getting some real world practice. You're stress testing. And by doing that, you're going to no longer be the person who just knows what you believe in, but you have battle tested your principles as well and seen that they're valuable and working for you. So that would be my recommendation for you is moving forward here is just get that mindset of these are challenges to strengthen you. This is a workout to really grow. And that is what we see showing up for you there, fun times. And we're going to move on to the next reading, which is the legendary, the one, the only SpongeBob SquarePants. Welcome, SpongeBob. How are you doing, sir? Is there anything in particular you were looking for insights on today? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll get your reading started shortly. By the way, we're going to be doing a lecture today on a theory of mind. As you may or may not be aware, if you've been following me for quite some time, I have a tendency to accidentally stumble across ideas that just out of my brain that just eat away at me and then unravel and destroy the very foundations of common theories. And I believe I may have found another one. So today I'm going to be telling you about a theory of mind. And as always, whenever I present a theory of these sorts, I come at it with the understanding I'm a beginner, I'm not an expert in the topic at all, and I'm more than happy to listen to people who know more than me, and I'd love to hear what their thoughts are on it as well. But it does seem like there is a obvious answer to a lot of the biggest problems that we see with the mind, and I'm wondering why other people haven't engaged this idea, or if they are, maybe I just am not aware. So we're going to be talking about that later on tonight. This is the best show. Well, thank you very much. Give me a random reading. Looking for a general reading. Awesome. And Fun Time says, thank you so much. No problem at all. Glad that I could help. All right, SpongeBob SquarePants, let's give you a general reading. Ooh, very interesting. Wow, getting some powerful cards here. All right. Let's get Mr. Carl Jung. Would you be so kind? Thank you, sir. Looking into the past here, we see the strength card popping up for you here, Mr. SpongeBob. So what this is saying is that you are in the position right now, in the past, I should say, where you were put in a spot where you had to use your will to really conquer your emotions. There's a lot of things that you wanted to do and you wanted to act on, and you had to use your higher self, your better self, to set back and control that energy. The impression I'm getting here is a bit of an anger, almost getting a little. Sometimes our anger would get the best of us, and you had to cultivate the skill of understanding, like, look, I'm angry. I understand that I'm angry, but I can control that anger and choose to not act on it. And so I see this as a struggle of yours in the past that actually made you a pretty strong person, though, because I'm getting the impression your anger is actually very powerful, and so the ability to not get rid of that or subdue your anger, but to instead tame it, to work with it, to partner with it, and that's kind of what we see popping up here in the past for you. Hello, how are you doing? Whoa, or I could knock my entire phone over. Hello, Jamie, how are you doing? So that's what we see popping up here in the past for you, SpongeBob. And walking into the present, what we see is the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands is about patience with the principles. And so what this is saying is you're kind of in this spot right now that's very frustrating. This is where you're sticking to what you believe in. You're doing the right thing. You're subduing your anger and choosing to not act on it. And it's totally not 6 in the morning right now in the UK. Whoa, that's interesting. Um, so the Queen of Wands here is saying that you're doing all this good stuff, SpongeBob. You're working hard. You're subduing your strength. You're using your strength to overcome these desire to act out on your anger, and it's just not working out. It feels like you're not getting a reward for this. It feels like it's just a waste of time. It almost feels like the more that you struggle to be a good person, the more negative things pop up, and it's very frustrating. And so we kind of see that happening up here with the Queen of Wands, which is a call to action to be patient, because the fruits of your principles are delayed. They are not an immediate gratification. That's kind of a core principle of sticking to the truth, sticking to your principles. And what's good to know is that if you are patient and if you continue to follow the truth, one, if things don't work out, you can at least look back and say, look, at least I stuck with my principles and I did what I knew was right. And that is a very powerful position to be in. But also, what most of the time happens is you will see that the things that are appearing to be bad and negative right now are actually growing and going to turn into very positive things in the future. They're sowing the seeds for future success. So you'll look back on these times now where you're so frustrated and annoyed and feel like it's just bad luck, and realize how these things had to happen so that the good could grow out of them. And so that's where we kind of find you at right now, SpongeBob. Is this sounding accurate for you? Let me know in the comments below before I move on to the next steps. And if it's not, that's perfectly fine. I'll adjust accordingly. Just let me know. What do we got here? Jamie saying hi. Totally not 5 a.m. in the morning here. Hi, can I have a reading? Yes, you may. What is that? Euperenda. You'll be getting a reading after the lecture here tonight. Euperenda, I have you on the list right here. Euperenda. And who was that? Can you do mine? Yes, indeed. Awesome. I'll get you on the list as well, Jamie. You will also be on after the lecture tonight. Let's get SpongeBob there. And then after SpongeBob is going to be Holly. Holly, you'll be up next. So if you're here, please let me know if you have anything in particular you'd like a reading about. Just drop that in the comment section below. Your reading will be starting shortly. SpongeBob has confirmed that this is sounding on point. Awesome. So what are the next steps? So what we see popping up here is a beautiful card indeed. This is the Magician. So the Magician is saying, now that you've mastered your emotions and now that you're in this position where you're being patient with your principles, the next steps here is to capture an understanding of the material. So how do I act out these principles in the real world? And logos. So how can I have a logical argument for why I stick to my principles? And when I can combine the logical argument, the ability to tame my emotions, which you've already accomplished, the ability to be patient and stick to my principles, which you are currently in the phase of, and then master that material manifestation and the logical argument for them, you will begin to be able to really make some massive changes in the world. You're going to be a very powerful force to be reckoned with. You will be able to bend reality in certain ways to really just work with the world, because you're in alignment with truth and you have the 4 quadrants covered on how to act out truth. So that would be my recommendations for you on the next steps: is get the logical justifications for why you believe what you believe, and then figure out, how do I manifest this in the real world? And what does that mean? It means, how do I take action? How do I do this thing? Not just talk about it, not just think about it, not just feel it, but act it out in the real world. So that would be my recommendation for you, Mr. SpongeBob. Hope that helps you out and gives you some insights. And we're going to move on to the next reading, which is Holly. Holly, you are up next. It's time for your reading, Holly. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like a reading about, and we'll begin your reading shortly. Holly, you're up. My goodness, guys, we are working on some pretty crazy, amazing things over here at Ask a Wizard. The Parliament of Owls is it's just fascinating. SpongeBob says, okay, no problem at all, sir. We we have the potential to do some really crazy things with this community. The Parliament of Owls are crushing, guys. Like, like we're working on trying to simultaneously take down 2 of the biggest industries around, and it seems actually quite plausible given what our competition is currently doing. So, and it's just there's such an opportunity right now to really make some big changes, and I feel like we don't have to do something big. We can do something big on a small scale. Like we can go and create amazing things in our community for each other, for ourselves, just for the owls. And that in itself is huge because if we can make our microcosm awesome, who cares what happens in the rest of the world if we're able to build something awesome? And then as we build great things while everyone else is just going to crap, like will naturally bring more people in. And it's just such a fascinating concept, really. Jesus really has a fantastic approach to life. Jamie says, "What can you do readings about?" I do general readings. I'm a wizard, so I do wizard readings. So it's based on archetypical story, philosophy, magic, and illusion. So what I do is identify what archetypical story you're on in your life, and then I try to identify which philosophical advice you need to help you move forward in whatever step you are in that story, and then use magic and illusion to personalize, tailor it, and then highlight the most important elements for you. So more or less whatever you're looking for. Obviously, I'm not a psychic, so I'm not predicting the future. We're not talking to the dead and nothing like that. All right, Holly, I have not seen you comment, so we're going to move on in just a minute. If we don't hear anything coming soon, going once, going twice, Holly. And sold. All right, Holly is off the list, and we're moving on to the next reading, which is Aprenda. Aprenda, are you here, sir or madame? Aprenda, you are up next. Would you like a reading? Let me know in the comments below if there's something in particular you'd like a reading about. If not, you'll get a general reading. Let me know that you are here. Awesome. All right, Aprenda, let's get your reading going while I throw sticky notes flying through the air, all onto the ground. Let us begin. Let's get you a good shuffle, a good solid shuffle. Yes. Very good shuffle. Yes, please. General reading. Awesome. Sounds good. Ooh, nice, nice reading indeed. Okay. Mr. Who's going to help today? Marcus Aurelius, would you be so kind? Thank you very much, sir. All right, looking into the past here, what we see is the Nine of Pentacles. So the Nine of Pentacles is about the attainment of the material. So this is saying that you were in a point in your life where, materially speaking, in your past, you never felt the fear of like want. You weren't put in that position where you're worried about like, will I have food? Will I have shelter? You really were in a spot where you got to have the beautiful gift that it's such an amazing thing to live in America because it's very rare that you have to worry about like, will I have enough food in America because there's just so much help and abundance here. But there's a lot of people in the world who don't have that, and that really can be an extremely damaging thing to have happen in the past. And that's not to say that it can't be overcome. All issues can be overcome, but it is a pretty. It definitely puts you in a very difficult state of mind when you're worried about those things because you can develop like a dependence on the need for money. And so what we see here is that you were in a position where, not to say that you were extremely rich or wealthy, but you didn't have to worry about whether or not you would have your basic needs met. And so that's a great thing to see popping up here. But it does have its own consequences. And so what we see walking into the present here is you have a different obstacle to overcome, and that's the Eight of Cups. And this is where we kind of find you at right now. So what this is saying is, Aprenda, that you're advancing emotionally right now and you're kind of hitting these roadblocks. Things just keep popping up and they're kind of getting in the way of your emotional progress, and they kind of send you on an emotional rabbit hole, if you will. You're trying to make progress. You have these goals, you have these ideas, you're trying to move forward on them, and all of a sudden you're just like, boom, down a rabbit hole, totally distracted, an emotional roller coaster, and you're just like, what the heck just happened? What was that? And then you just try to keep going forward, and boom, another wall. You're just like, what is happening here? Why does this keep happening to me? And so, what's happening there is that's your subconscious. So, your subconscious is throwing up roadblocks because while you move forward on the path, even though you had this good upbringing that made you not have to be so concerned about the basic material needs, your subconscious is still there to make sure your basic needs are met. And so, what this is doing is it's basically, it doesn't know that when you go to apply for an interview, for example, at a job, or when you try to do something new in school, um, you your brain doesn't know that the difference between that and a tiger trying to kill you. It can't distinguish between it. It just says, this is a threat. I'm stressed. I'm freaked out. And so your brain freaks out appropriately. And so your subconscious is trying to set up these warnings for you and tell you that. And so what this is saying is, don't get into this position where you're trying to bottle those emotions away or ignore them and just be like, that was weird. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm going to keep moving forward on my goal. Instead, when you get those emotional warnings, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What is the cause of that emotion? What is its source? And how can I negotiate with it? And so, if you do that, if you give your subconscious the respect that it's deserving, it's going to stop putting up those walls in front of you because it's saying, oh, you've recognized the threat. You have a plan to overcome the threat. Okay, we're prepared for the threat. No need to keep stopping you in the middle of your tracks. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now, is these walls getting thrown up and kind of blocking you in the way. Is this sounding accurate for you? Let me know, Aprenda, if this is sounding accurate. And if not, that's perfectly fine. I will adjust accordingly. And we'll move on to the next steps after that. Alma says you're boring. You're probably just not smart enough to follow what we're talking about, Alma, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and just ban you for life because that is how we roll around here. And the reason why is the Parliament of Owls is a very specific group of people. It's not very many people who are interested in what this is, and that's okay. But we like to ban people extremely aggressively here because this isn't about having a bunch of people. This is not a very popular topic. It's philosophy applied to your life to help you improve and grow. And so that's a very niche topic in life. It's very rare that you find people who want to change their life, let alone people who will take action on it. So the people who are here are a very special group of people. And so as part of that, I want to do my part to make sure this is the best stream for those very, very specific group of people. And so we ban the people that make this not fun, essentially. And so by doing that, we kind of filter down the internet to the best group of people on the internet, and that's who the Parliament of Owls is. So we will always ban, lean on the side of banning. We've had false bannings in the past. I mean, we've banned over 15,000 people. So we definitely have had some false bannings. But if that's the case, you can always make another account. There's nothing wrong with that. Prenda says, anything about my love life? Well, we can try that with the next steps here, the final steps, and see if that's on the horizon here. So, in regards to that, what we see popping up here is the Four of Swords. Hey, Wise Owl in the house. Welcome, Wise Owl. How are you doing? Welcome. Wise Owl is a legendary owl who's been here for a long time in the owl community. Can I please have a reading next? You cannot have a reading next. However, I will add you to the list. And you will be after Jamie. Let me see here. It's Petro. Pito Civilian? Interesting. All right, so what we see popping up here is the Four of Swords for you, Aprenda. So the next step, so what you should really be focusing on here is the balance and understanding of your logos. And so what this is a call to action here is, in regards to your love life, what you should be focusing on is really intellectualizing what you're looking for in your love life and your relationship. So what is the things that you want and not in the what you can write them down in the emotional sense, but you want to literally write these things down. Like write down, these are the things that are a must for me in a relationship, and these are the things I will 100% auto disqualify. If they have this, it's over. I don't want anything to do with that. And then from there, you can have your nice to haves and your, I'm not too big of a fan of this, but I could tolerate it kind of list. And then from there, once you've written them down, you really have criteria for your love life. And most people don't do that. They kind of just waddle through life and hope that they find love. And marketing teaches you that's how you go out of business. If you don't know who your market is, you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what you're trying to sell, you're going to fail completely. And so what you want to do is have a target market in mind. So figure out what it is ideally that you want from a love life relationship, write it down, and then from there, it's much easier to identify the people, and it's a lot easier to filter through people because you have that list of things that are just the no goes. And so anytime you identify those traits, you say, oh, they got that trait, boom, done. Don't need to waste my time here. And now I can get through a lot more people to find that perfect person. And so that would be my recommendation here is figure out what your core principles are, and that's going to really help you out. If you can tell me about my love life later, definitely can, but probably do it in another string because we already did your reading. But come on back. I do these Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific Coast time. If you want to get more readings, you're more than welcome. All right. And so that is the reading I have for you, Aprenda. I hope that helped you out, gave you some insights. And we are going to move on to the lecture. We're going to be doing the lecture right now on a theory of mind. And so we're going to be discussing a theory that I have about the mind. And again, I'm not an expert in the topic whatsoever. It's just an interesting some plot holes that I've found here. I've been looking at it and it's just kind of been eating away in the back of my head. And so I kind of want to just talk it out. I'm an ENTP, you know how I am, just constantly getting ideas, and then my brain starts spiraling about them. I think philosophically about them, and then eventually I deconstruct and break down the very foundations of reality. Um, happen more often than I care to admit. So I wanted to talk about it with you guys and hopefully get some feedback. Point me in the right direction of experts. If there's people I should be talking to, I'd love to hear about it. And then after the lecture, we're going to be having Jamie and Pito. Pito? Is that how you? Peto? Pito? Peto? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Let me know. And that will be after Jamie. Awesome. All right. Let us begin. Oh, 1 second here. We got some notifications from Wise Owl. Missing your wisdom, not technically in tune with YouTube, but I made it. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Wise Owl. Well, we'll have to figure that out. You're right, because I need to. I'm not sure how to handle that. So the Restream is a technology that hypothetically will let me get to Facebook. However, I will have to do that through my laptop. So in the next couple of months, I'm hoping to build out a studio so that I don't have to just do it through my iPhone. And in theory, I'll be able to share to Facebook and YouTube. So I think that might be the solution, but that's a ways away. So I do want to figure out something to solve that in the meantime. SpongeBob says, I have notifications on. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you very much. All right. So what is the theory of mind that I've been thinking about? So I was looking at the problems that Jamie, can I get a magic reading? Yes, you'll be getting a reading after the lecture here, Jamie. So I was looking at the theories, the problems with the current theories that we have for the mind and the things that they can't answer from a scientific perspective. And so currently the scientific perspective is that the mind is purely material. Everything is produced by electricity and chemical reactions and electronic signals through synapses in your brain. And that's connected to your nervous system, and more or less everything is derived from a purely material sense, and there's nothing outside of that. And the problem that we run into with that particular model, the materialist model, is there's a few phenomenon and some pretty giant glaring holes in the theory that the materialist response has never been able to answer. One of the big ones that's always bothered me is, so obviously you have this problem where which is evidence for the material case. You can give a brain a chemical and it will change the way that your brain works. You can get hit in the head and it will disrupt the functionality of your brain. You will never think the same way again if you get hit in the head with a sledgehammer, for example. However, there's also this strange phenomenon where people can die and be brought back to life. Like literally, they can go brain dead and then be resuscitated, and their brain comes back to the way that it was. And I always wonder, how does it know to come back to the way that it should have been if it's just material? If your brain is just a material machine, shouldn't it reload in the same way? Like if I took a computer and I just hard reset it, like dying, hard reset, everything is wiped on it, right? Shouldn't it reset to its base state? Why does it know to reset to the exact, down to the micro detail of what I was before I died? It shouldn't be possible because there's nothing there to save that once it's dead. There's no record because it's just signals firing. And so that was one thing that I found odd. And the other case that I saw was that this beautiful, heartwarming story was a medical breakthrough where there was people who had dementia. Treatment isn't universal. It doesn't help every person, but it was, in this particular case, able to help people who had dementia recover. They were able to go from being in a state of dementia back to who they were before the dementia had set in. And it was beautiful, heartwarming to see that, but also kind of bizarre. Like if your mind is damaged and you lose who you were, you lose the memories, how did it come back to who it was? What was the record that it was referencing to get back to where it was? And so from all of these thoughts, I began to start thinking about the mind of like what would be the answer for that. And I think maybe I should go through some of the other problems I've run through first before I explain my theory or my answer. So I guess the second problem comes in with emotions, and this has always been a massive debate, which is how can you feel emotions and say no to them? Because animals can't do that. A wolf is not able to say, I'm full, I'm not going to be gluttonous, and I'm going to restrain myself and not eat. A wolf can't do that. It eats until it's at its capacity and then it's done. That's what it does. It doesn't have these internal conflicts with itself where it says, oh, I shouldn't have eaten so much. I should think of my future self and where I will be. And my goodness, I'm not doing the best thing for myself. It doesn't have that. There's just the emotions that it feels, and then it acts on the emotions. Humans are the exception to that rule, where we, for some reason, can feel a desire and then intellectually say no to that desire and choose to do something that's counter to that desire. It's very bizarre. And so, why are we essentially having conflicting signals? Why wouldn't we, if we're just animals, purely material, and our mind was material, wouldn't you just feel the emotion? The overriding, most important one would control you, and you would just do that and take action on that. This boiled down is if you want the reference to what I'm talking about, is the thought experiment of right now in your mind, you have thoughts. You're hearing my words. You're probably thinking about what I'm saying, and there's thoughts going on in your head. What is the thing that's listening to the thoughts in your head? What is that? And so that's kind of a weird thing. Christians would call that the soul. Science has no explanation. We have no answer for what that is. We have no idea. And so that's a problem. So it's like, what is that thing that we all universally experience, yet we don't have any explanation for it? And so that was the second problem that I ran into with the current model, the material theory of mind. And then the intellectual problem which is, where do the thoughts even come from? Because we don't know. Your brain just kind of out of nowhere will just have a thought. Sometimes they're stupid thoughts, sometimes they're great thoughts, sometimes there's thoughts that are so profound and so powerful that they literally change the entire fabric of the universe. They allow us to disintegrate nations in a matter of minutes. They allow us to transform culture and human direction. And we don't know why they happen or how they happen. It's quite odd. And when you combine that with just the physical limitations, like your mind's ability to contain within it the, you can imagine right now the universe, and you can envision it just like a movie, zooming in from the cell out to the full capacity of the universe and back down into the individual. The processing power that you just used in your imagination to do that is more powerful than all of the computers in the entire world combined together by like a billion. It's insane. The ability to imagine the spectrum and the speed at which you just process that data. It's impossible. It's absurd, but you're able to do it. And somehow, if you accept the material understanding of the world, or the material mind, I should say, how is this little 6 pound pack of meat able to do that? It just doesn't make sense. Why is this hardware so much better than our technology? Um, it's odd. It's odd to me, indeed, and I think that's a big problem. And then the final and the most obvious problem that I see is consciousness. We all have consciousness. Every day you wake up and experience consciousness, and you experience free will. You're able to make a choice. You're able to look at ice cream and say, I will choose to eat ice cream today or not. And you get to make that choice. You're not controlled by any outside forces. Now, there's a false argument that was set up, which said, well, if we measure a person's brain 5 seconds before they make a choice, we can figure out which choice they're going to make, which proves literally nothing. It's just saying that your subconscious has higher priority in decision making in the moment than your conscious mind. Because what that study doesn't show you is, well, what if I plan 30 minutes ahead of time for going to the ice cream shop and saying, I'm going to choose water instead because I want to be healthy? And then you've defeated the momentary decision making process, which is more handled by the animalistic side of your brain. And so the material answer, and this is, I think, the most disturbing, is that their answer for consciousness is, oh, we don't, and that's the full answer, really. What I just made, that noise encapsulates their entire expression for what consciousness is. It's this just, I mean, okay. Some of them will go so far as to say it's like an illusion, but a persistent one that's true and always seems to predict and is the foundation for everything we know. But it's not real, and you're like, huh? Wait a minute, what? And so that's the four huge problems that I always had with this material mind. If everything exists in this material mind, how is how do they account for all these huge flaws that we just went through? And my thought is, when you look at all of these things and what their flaws are, it does kind of remind me of like a computer and the internet. And what do I mean by that? Well, if my brain gets hit with a hammer, for example, if my brain gets hit with a hammer, and or I should say my computer. If I go to my computer, right, and I spill water on it, I destroy the water. Just the whole thing, just frazzled, fizzed out. The computer's fried, right? I can go and then what is this? Okay, I'll be back. This is it. Who else thinks this is awesome? Well, thank you very much. Hey, Dion, how's it going? Sorry, it looks like we had some lag there. I'm not sure. Looks like it was affecting the numbers and whatnot, but that's all right. Welcome back. Thank you. I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully it recorded. We'll find out. So, gosh, what was I saying? Right. So my theory is, what if instead the mind is picking up a frequency? What if we're an antenna? What if there is this material meat machine? It was recording, don't worry. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for letting me know that. Um, what if this material meat machine is picking up on a signal the same way your computer is able to connect to the internet? So when I go and I spill water on my computer and it fries, I can go and get that computer repaired. I can replace the hard drives and the parts that were broken. I can turn that computer back on and I can go and connect to the internet and re download the cloud backup of my computer back onto my computer. And my computer will be restored to how it was. That's kind of like what happens in my theory, from what I'm looking at it as an explanation of. That sounds like what happens when you die. Your brain is dead, and then you're brought back to life, and then somehow your brain resets to how it was. Wouldn't that make sense that you have a frequency backed up somewhere that's able to reload? Because if you didn't, it would be like a computer that has no access to an internet and a cloud backup. You would fry it and it would never restore your data. It'd be done. There's no connection there. And that would be, if your brain was purely material, that'd be the only explanation for how that could work, right? I don't see any other way to answer that in the material sense, how that's possible. Um, and then in regards to emotions, it would make sense. If you have a signal that's coming into this meat machine, you would be getting conflicting signals. You'd be getting the animal instincts, the emotions, the desires, the things that make you human. You would be feeling those, and then you would have a conflicting signal in your brain that was saying the signal, the internet. So you have what you believe, and then you have the internet of your brain, which is no, this is what we're going to do despite these signals. And so that would be the answer for that emotional conflict. And the signal theory would really answer that. From the thought perspective and the capacity and processing speed, this one's just a straightforward analogy. My computer cannot contain all of Wikipedia and all of Google and all of Facebook and all of Twitter and all of every single website, all of YouTube, every one of these trillions. There is not a computer on this planet that could possibly hold all of that in the computer, right? It would be just completely overwhelmed, and forget even processing any of that data. Just simply storing it alone would be virtually impossible. However, my computer can access all of that information through the internet by distributing it. And so that would be the internet. The internet, your computer is connecting to the signal. So why is this 6-pound meat machine able to connect with all of this data? Why am I able to go sell my existence, the universe, back down in my imagination in a matter of seconds? A process that can't be handled by any computer. Well, perhaps I'm getting a frequency that's connecting me to something much more powerful, in the same way that I can connect to the internet and gain the data that I need, and it's much more powerful. And so that would be the thought of the logos, the intellect. And then finally, I think this case has been made here, but it would answer the biggest problem of all, which is consciousness and free will. Why are we able to make choices that are outside our material body's desires? Why are we able to perceive what we are as an animal and see something else, the consciousness? Because we're perceiving the signal, because we're receiving it, because there is something outside of us that's coming here. And that would be the answer for consciousness and free will. And so that's my theory. That's what I've been thinking about. That's the kind of concept that I've been running around. It seems like it would really answer and solve for all the major problems that we run in with the current theory of mind. And I don't see how it disagrees with any of the material data that we've collected on the brain so far. For example, when you look at the material construction of what a thought is, it appears to be an electronic frequency. The synapses are literally firing electrical signals in your brain. We don't know why or how, and we can't predict their patterns, but they are. It's just an electrical cloud. And so and chemical reactions firing for reasons we can't really know, and or at least don't know yet. But if you look at like what a frequency of a computer is, that's the same thing. Your brain connecting to the internet, your computer connecting to the internet, I should say, is just electronic signals being fired in binary zeros and ones back and forth. So it looks like from all the material evidence that exists, we're seeing a machine that is receiving a signal or transmitting a signal. I don't know which one it would be, or perhaps it's both. But that does seem to be what all the physical evidence would suggest. And it seems to match up perfectly with the analogy of what we see with the computer as well. And I don't see where there's any conflicts in that. And again, of course, I'm opening this. This is a dialectic. I'm opening if there's some contradictions in that theory that you're aware of, I'd love to hear them and talk them out because I want to see where the flaws are. But it does seem like this kind of answers all of the big problems of the current theory of mind. So if you know anyone who's an expert on the topic, I'd love to talk to them. Maybe we can get them on the show. And I would appreciate learning about it. And that's my theory of mind. And if you guys have any thoughts or insights on it, I'd love to hear it. And with that, that's the end of the lecture for today. And we're going to move on to our readings, starting off with Jamie, who I saw just came back. Jamie, you are up. It is time for your reading. Jamie says, this theory is amazing. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. SpongeBob says, okay, thank you. Noella says, ooh, it was recording. Don't worry. Thank you very much. Aubrey says, gibberish. Did you mean to put King James version at the end? Because if you did, that's very cool. I like that. This is the King James version of the Bible, by the way. Don't know why. Like, I know if it says it, yeah, don't worry about it. All right, Jamie, what would you like a reading about? Let me know in the comments below, Jamie, and we'll get your reading started shortly. What are you looking for your reading? And thank you for your guys' comments, and thank you for letting me know your feedback on the theory. I appreciate that. And if you have any questions or ideas or insights, let me know because, yeah, it's an interesting. It seems to solve all their problems. I don't know why, and I would even go out and say you could probably suggest a secular theory that would account for what I'm saying. Um, Based on what you're seeing in science today. Now, I have my problems with quantum theory. As you guys know, I devolved in, gosh, 3 or 4 years ago, put out some arguments against quantum theory, all of which came true, despite not having any knowledge in quantum theory. It was just purely based on Socrates and Aristotle, which was like the idea of something can be existent and non-existent. It's like, no, it can't. That's a logical contradiction. That can't be true. And moved on to what is now called probability cloud theory because it wasn't true. And so there was, and then there was the something can be in two places at the same time simultaneously. No, it can't. That's a logical contradiction. And that's where the theory, then you had the quantum entanglement theory. And so then they were like, oh, wait, that isn't true because it's a logical inconsistency. And so there's actually seems to be some sort of connection between the two. So it isn't the same thing at the same time, that kind of thing. Nicholas says, Tyler, I thought that was a real owl and just noticed it's a sculpture. That would be so creepy. Just have this little tiny owl that's alive just sitting there. That'd be bizarre. Um, Interesting, Tyler. There are many different explanations to what you're referring to. Your mind isn't the only part of your body that thinks, but so does your heart, scientifically proven. Exactly, the concept of what you call the heart. I'm Butterfly Knife One from TikTok. Welcome, Nicholas. I'm not familiar with that name, but nice to meet you. How are you doing? Um, yeah, so that concept of the heart seems to be what people are calling it for. Jamie's looking for a general reading. Awesome. All right, let's get that started. So yeah, that was something I did with that back in the day, and it was just like, well, these are obvious logical contradictions, so that they can't be true, and then was seen to not be true, and so that's kind of what this feels like, where it's just like, guys, isn't this glaringly obvious that like you have all these huge problems with your theory, and there's this really obvious one that's going to help you. I did your imaginary friend and made one. Awesome, that's cool. Did you enjoy it? Did you do the Navi? That was a fun one. That's a form of a paracosm, by the way. It's pretty cool stuff. It's one of my obsessions. It's actually something I am an expert in. It's one of the few things that I am an expert in, and it's mostly because no one else seems to be interested in studying it. General reading. All right, well, let's do it. Yes, you did. It was really fun. Glad to hear it. All right, so Jamie, let's take a look here. Hello. All right, Jamie. Who do we meet here today? Mr. Socrates, would you be so kind? Looking into the past here, what we see is the King of Swords. So the King of Swords popping up here is about knowledge of knowledge. Okay, so this is a card here in the past that's saying we went through some times where we kind of were overthinking things. We kind of get caught up in our own head. We would think stuff and then think, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if that happens? And we create all these different scenarios in our head and worry about them. And then lo and behold, we would get to the reality and they never came true. And we spent all this time concerning ourselves about these things that couldn't happen, but we spent so much energy into thinking about what could happen here. And so that's what the King of Swords really represents is applying logos too much. We're really great at thinking and problem solving and pattern recognition. And so we're able to think of all these horrible things that could happen, and then we want to prepare for them. But in reality, it's not practical for us to concern ourselves with every possible solution. We want to think about the things that are most probable to occur. And so we see that in the past. And now walking into the present, it seems that you've managed to overcome that. And it looks like you've done it in a very unique and creative way. So, the way that you've overcome this problem of overthinking is the hangman, which is a very, very powerful tool. In fact, this is what Stoics teach. And so, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, for example, both of those are Stoic philosophers who propose the very solution that it seems that you've figured out on yourself naturally, which is inverting the question, and when you start to overthink the problem, asking yourself, well, what's the worst thing that could happen, and really thinking through. Imagine you just had a random little owl just sitting staring at you. Yeah, exactly. It's just very, very content and very patient. um, so you're looking at the problem and just inverting it, and you're saying, well, what is the real worst case scenario? And then when you analyze that and you see for yourself, oh, well, the worst case scenario is actually not that big a deal. I could just fix that in a couple of minutes. When you start doing that, you realize there's a lot less things to worry about than you thought. And then there are some things that really are worth worrying about and you want to plan for. Please do not interrupt. I'm listening. Please don't interrupt. Okay. What are you talking about? Are you okay, Nicholas? so, um, so the hangman here is really telling you that um, this process that you've developed of inverting the problem of saying, hey, when I'm overthinking a problem, I want to invert the problem and then say, um, what's the worst that could happen? Analyze it. If it's really bad, if it's not bad, it doesn't really matter. And then by doing that, you can really um, start to structure your efforts. You don't want to put your thought into things that really aren't a big deal, and you want to put your effort into the things that are a big deal. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now. Is this sounding accurate for you, Jamie? Let me know in the comments below if this is helpful advice for you and giving you some insights. And if not, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know, Jamie, and we will adjust accordingly. But I want to know before we move on to the final steps for you. Nicholas says, sorry. No, don't worry at all. This is a live show. Do not worry about it at all. Yes, I did. It was really fun. Awesome. I liked your magic. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I appreciate that. Awesome. Um, Imagine you just had a little. I was just staring at you. Yes, indeed. So, is this sounding accurate for you, Jamie? Let me know. Somebody's getting their messages blocked. I can't see what those are. So, are you still with us, Jamie? Jamie, can you make a noise for me? Jamie. Jamie. Spirit Jamie. Interesting. Thank you very much, Dion. How you been, Dion? Oh yeah, that's a good point. I forgot to mention that. Yes, if you'd like to support the stream, if you'd like to get a paid reading, you can always go to paypal.me/ask a wizard, pay whatever you think a reading is worth, and you can get a paid reading there. And if you'd like to support me long term, if you would like to buy me a cup of coffee, buy me lunch, buy me dinner, head on over to patreon.com/ask a wizard, and you can support me there. I really appreciate it. Can you say hi to everyone? Sure. How's it going, Sheldon? Jamie says, I know, right? I'm going to go ahead and assume that that sounds accurate for Jamie. If not, we're going to move on. I've been good. Thank you, bro. Awesome. Glad to hear it, Dion. I'm interested in hearing the further additions to your story. Dion is an amazing owl, been here for quite a while, and he is a legend in the community. The dude is like, every one of his readings is just a story that just perfectly follows a narrative. And it's like a trillion to one at this point. The ability for it to just very specifically follow his life. I find it absolutely fascinating. All right, so Jamie, we're going to go ahead assuming that this is sounding accurate for you, and we're going to move on to the next steps. So what we see is the Ace of Swords here. So what this is saying is that you're actually beginning a new part of your life. So this is the beginning of a new intellectual journey. You've developed this skill set of the Hanged Man. You've been able to overcome this overthinking by using this stoic concept of what's the worst that can happen. And so now you're actually entering a new phase in your life. You're going to be able to make a huge amount of progress because you would be amazed at how much time and energy and effort is wasted by everyone collectively worrying about things that they can't know, can't control, and have no impact on. And so if you simply eliminate even 20% of those, you're going to be competing and outperforming most of people. And so this is a really, really powerful spot to be in. And it's going to allow you to really just begin a new adventure in your life. It's not easy. You're going to find yourself falling back into the trap. That's just how people are. But you have a way out. You know how to dig out of the hole and climb up the mountain. So you are in a really great position here, Jamie. Glad to see this, and I'm interested in seeing how your life progresses from here because this is a really powerful mindset to have. Glad to see that popping up for you there, Jamie, and we're going to move on to the next reading. Do 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 do. If you'd like to get a reading, share the stream and let me know that you want a reading. Nicholas says, I love your TikToks and magic. Keep up the great work and the magic tricks. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I appreciate that. I can't wait until this whole nonsense with the beer sniffles is all over so that I can go back to doing live shows again where I do my magic shows live. I'm a member of the Magic Castle and I do farmers market magic shows. And we were actually in the works of planning some kind of like sort of, the going on the street doing magic for people kind of stuff. We had that in the works, and then obviously everything got shut down. And so it's just like, whatever. Just work on what we can control. Again, can't control it, can't change it, so move on to other projects. So instead, we're going to destroy the education system and rebuild it. You're next, Disney. That was an inside joke for like 4 owls. All right. Might have to go soon. No problem at all, Nicholas. Awesome. You definitely go and study and learn. Educate yourself, sir. Recommend Plato and Aristotle. And this is always live recorded as well, so you can always go back and watch the replay. So next up on the list, we have Pello. Pello, are you here? Pello. Maybe your last name. Cecilia? Sevilla? Sevilla? Or Peta? Peta? Are you here? Awesome. All right. Let's get a reading going for you. What were you looking for insights on? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're just looking for a general reading, let me know, and we will get your general reading started shortly. Peta. This one is really true. I'm starting high school, also known as secondary school, in a few days. Awesome. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's crazy how accurate that is, huh? I love these. It never ceases to amaze me where I go through these readings, give like 40 very specific, highly detailed things about the person and their situation and advice. And at the end, they're like, Yeah, every single one of those is correct. What the heck? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how it works either. Are you able to do a free reading on my healing gift, please? It's moved forward a lot. Heck yeah, definitely, Dion. Let's do it. All right, Peta, just looking for a general reading. Sounds good. All right, let's look into the past here. Paracelsus, how about you, sir? You seem interested in this particular one. Interesting. All right, Mr. Paracelsus, let us begin. All right, wow, that's painful. Okay, looking into the past here, Peta. Um, oh man, that sucks. So I see that you gained some wisdom, you learned some information, and it really hurt you. This is a painful experience in the past. You gained some wisdom that just, oh, I hate seeing that, but it is a good thing in a way. We want to get the wisdom as soon as possible to get that painful information as soon as possible so that it doesn't keep growing and turn into a Tower of Babel that causes destructions. But man, that can hurt when wisdom is revealed to us that is painful truth. And so we see that popping up here in the past, not the best experience. But walking into the present, what we see is this has left us in a spot where we realized we need to change the way that we think about the world. So the Five of Swords is saying, okay, this new information we gained, while it was painful, we can turn this painful experience into a very positive experience by changing the way that we think and act in the future. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now is the not fun experience, but very powerful and very transformative experience of reshaping the way that we approach the world intellectually. And so that's what the Five of Swords represents. And that's kind of where we find you at right now is that while it's not the best experience, it's not the most fun, Peta, but it is valuable and it can be one of the most important decisions you make. And the way that it comes to me in my mind with the hero's journey is this is where the hero really becomes the hero. The hero is not the hero when they first leave their hobbit hole. It's when they're first put into massive conflict and they have to deal with that conflict and become something greater than they were to overcome that. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now is that crucial moment in the hero's journey where we've been confronted with pain and now rather than cowering and running away in fear, we are choosing to say no. I'm going to change how I am and I'm going to overcome that so that I am stronger than I was before so I cannot be hurt in that way again. And so that's kind of where we find you at right now. Is this sounding accurate for you, Peta? Let me know in the comments below. Yes, indeed, Dion. Let me get you on the list here. You're next, actually. I just don't want to make sure I don't forget. Um, Dion. Peta has confirmed that this is sounding very accurate. Glad to hear this is sounding accurate for you. I'm sorry that it is a painful time, but I'm glad to hear that we're on point because that means that I can help you get the information you need to move forward. And what we see coming up here next is a very awesome card to see in this circumstance, which is the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune means that there is a huge amount of opportunity and abundance in the future. Now, this does not mean it's all good. It means that there is massive opportunity. There can be bad opportunities, there can be good opportunities, there can be suboptimal opportunities. But what this is saying is you are not trapped. You are not stuck. You have a dragon to slay that you've gained the knowledge of. You are planning an attack plan to overcome that dragon. And with the right intellect, with the right plan, by meeting the right mentors, by gaining the right wisdom, by gaining the right skill sets, you can overcome that pain and transform yourself into something massively better than what you were. And so you are in the prime position to really take advantage of where you're at now and transform yourself and become something greater than you could have possibly imagined. And so that's what's in the future for you here. But it's very important that you don't rush into things, that you think logically about your plans, that you consult with the people that you are trying to gain, consult with people who want your best interest in your mind, gain mentorship, and really make a plan. Don't just rush into it. Don't just wing it. You can do this. You can become something greater than you were. and you have all the abundance and ability and opportunity to do so. You are not trapped in any way. You are free and you have massive opportunity ahead. So that is my reading for you, Peta. I hope that helps you out, gives you some insights. And we're going to move on to Dion's reading. And I think that will be our last reading for tonight after we do Dion's reading. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions or you want to do a little Q&A or quick questions at the end, that is awesome as well. Just feel free to drop those in the comment section below. SpongeBob says, I'm still here. Glad to hear it, SpongeBob. Glad that I was able to help you. Peta says, thank you so much. No problem at all, Peta. You are amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Dion. Dion is looking for insights regarding his healing gifts. All right. And he's just looking for a free reading. So let's get that started. Oh, wow. Okay. My goodness. All right, Dion. Wow. This is intense. Ending on an intense one. All right. Who do we need insights from? Aristotle, would you be so kind? All right. Looking into the past here, we see the chariot before you, Dion. So the chariot is saying that you have intellectually and principally understood your path. You have considered the pros and you've considered the cons, and you have set forth a very strategic and intelligent plan based on your intuition and your intellect and your understandings of the world. You have considered all of the possible scenarios. And because of that, you are ready to move forward and take action. The path has been cleared. You have won the battle. You just haven't fought yet. The Machiavelli approach, the just being ready to go and ready to take action. In regards to your gifts, this is making a lot of sense. Sounds was the last reading. It sounds like you have now taken action, set up a plan, thought it through logically, and you took action on it. And so now, walking into the presence, where we find you is the Seven of Swords, and this is where you've gained confidence in your intellect. You've had a lot of positive experiences. You have really been um, seeing the results of your gifts and your experiences. And this has started to give you some intellectual insights as well. And so you feel very confident in that intellectual wisdom. However, it is important to note here, and there is this Carl Jung quote, which is be wary of unearned wisdom. And so what he was talking about there was psychedelics. And so people who would consume drugs to try and achieve spiritual states. And they would go insane, they would develop sicknesses, or, and what Carl Jung more aptly identified was this unearned wisdom. You can gain wisdom that doesn't belong to you. And when you do that, you become overwhelmed with knowing the correct thing to do, but not having the capacity to act on the wisdom because you did not physically earn that wisdom. And so be careful with that. This is very common, I see, in spiritual journeys as well, especially with people who are trying to like rapidly grow on a spiritual path. They can gain too much wisdom that they haven't earned yet because they haven't materially acted in the world to develop that spirituality. And so with the Seven of Swords, we do have that component of feeling like we're stealing away some of the wisdom and a bit of confidence. So just be aware of that situation here as well. And so that's kind of what we see right now, where you're at currently, Dion. Is this sounding accurate for you? Is this giving you some insights? Let me know in the comments below. And if not, perfectly fine. We will adjust accordingly. Just let me know in the comments below. Fun Time says, thank you for my reading earlier. I have to go. No problem at all. Thank you so much for letting me give you a reading. I'm glad I was able to do that for you. And again, I'm live here Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific Coast time here on YouTube. So if you would like to get more readings or more insights or more lectures, come on back and I'll see you guys then. Dion says very accurate. Glad to hear this is sounding very accurate for you, Dion. And let's move on to the next steps. So the next steps is, gosh, this is rough. So what we see popping up is the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords is about the completion of an intellectual chapter in our life. I'm gonna be here next stream too. Thank you very much, SpongeBob. Glad to hear it. So the Ten of Swords is, and if you guys like the stream and you think the wisdom's valuable, really appreciate it if you give this thing a thumbs up and share it with your friends. The best way for this thing to grow is to literally just tell people you know in real life, because you're already here. You're already part of the rare group of people who are interested in this kind of thing. And so you probably know people that are also interested in this kind of thing. And I find that much more effective than YouTube and social media trying to control it. I deeply appreciate you guys sharing them there. That's very helpful. But I'd much rather know one cool person from you than 10 people I don't know, and then I have to ban half of them. It's just a process. So thank you guys for joining tonight, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Sorry about that, Dion. Just wanted to let them know before they headed on out. So the Ten of Swords here is the completion of an intellectual chapter in our life. And so this is typically saying that we are incorrect about some form of the knowledge that we have, and it's going to stab us in the back. And that can be on a micro scale. This can also be on a macro scale as well. But that typically means like putting ourselves in a position where we take actions based on what we believe to be true, and then come to find out that that thing that we believe to be true is not true, and that ends the chapter of that intellectual journey. And it's usually not the most pleasant experience to go through. It kind of sucks. It's very hard for people to just be accustomed to saying, gosh, I'm screwed up, I'm wrong, I've believed this wrong thing for a long time, but gosh darn it, I need to abandon it and move on. That's a skill that you develop. That's philosophers spend their time developing that skill set, to be able to do that. That's what Socrates was praised by the goddesses, or the oracles, I should say. For being the wisest man who lived, because he knew that he knew nothing. The idea that he was okay with not knowing stuff. And most people, when they think they know something and find out it's not true, it can be a very painful experience and cause what's called cognitive dissonance. You basically spiral, you freak out, and will even hallucinate that the person who's telling you this said something they didn't, and is a terrible, stupid, bad person, and that's why you don't need to believe what they had to believe. And then your brain moves on because it doesn't like finding out something that it believed to be true is not true. You see this all the time on social media. And so what I would recommend doing is that, while this will be a painful experience, practice that art of philosophy of saying, wow, okay, I am wrong here. Let's role play that that's true, because that's much easier to get your foot in the door. It's much easier to get your foot in the door of saying, I know this person is totally wrong, but just for to humor them, let's just role play that they're correct. And if you do that, if you give yourself that leeway, I know it's silly, I know it's childish, but it really is effective. It's just, let's pretend that they're right and see what is the logical implications of if they are right, and see what that is. And by doing that, you can kind of get around this animal instinct of us of like, hey, how dare you say what I say is true is not true, and then there's this anger, this buildup of, no, this is the truth though. And so just say, all right, hypothetically, I'm going to pretend that you're correct, and I will intellectually stimulate myself with the thoughts of that being correct. And that's a really great way of getting around that problem and making this a little less stingy. And it's a really great path to growing intellectually and developing. So that would be my recommendation for you, Dion, is just be aware. It seems like you're taking action, you're crushing, but in the process, you may be gaining some unearned wisdom. Because you're gaining so much wisdom so quickly, and that could end up being that you're getting kind of like a poison apple in the bunch. You might be getting 10 really great ideas and great pieces of wisdom, but one of them is actually poisonous and a bad idea, and you'll realize that, and that will be a painful experience to reject. But if you use the principle that I just said of, well, let me entertain the idea that this is false, what would that mean for me, and then just play that out in your head, I think that'll help you get through the idea. And so that would be my recommendation for you, Dion. I hope that helps you out. Hope that gives you some insights. And thank you for letting me give you a reading. And welcome to YouTube. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you're liking YouTube. And we got to figure out what to do with Facebook. I just don't have enough freaking time, man. I think that the short-term solution is I have to do some shows. Um, Stick to what I know. Thank you, bro. Yeah, definitely. Well, not even stick to what you know, just intellectually consider alternative hypotheses, I think, in a playful and fun way, in a non threatening way for yourself, I think will be beneficial. I got to figure out, I just don't have time to stream on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. But I want to be doing it on Facebook, and I can't just wait around until I have a studio in a couple of months and then stream there because I like all the people at Facebook. So this is really hard. Um, I'll have to figure it out. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today. And leave in the comment section below if you have any theories of mind, if you have any thoughts on the topic, if you know any experts in the field, if you see any problems with it. Again, I'm engaging in a dialectic here. I am not the expert by any means. It's just while looking through the problems with the current theories in mind, I thought, man, like this just seems like a glaringly obvious solution to all the problems. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are and talk to someone who is an expert on the matter. Thank you for tuning in. What is my Instagram? It's at Ask a Wizard. You should be able to find it there. It's also my TikTok profile. If you click the Instagram, it's there. And that's where I am on Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. And if you'd like to support the stream, if you'd like to keep spreading logos, head on over to patreon.com/ask a wizard. Support what you love, and you can do that by going to patreon.com/ask a wizard, buying me a cup of coffee, buying me lunch, buying me dinner over there at the Feed the Wizard program. I deeply appreciate all of the support that you guys give me there and allowing me to do what I do for you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific Coast time. See you later. Peace.